How much does it really cost to start a business in Amazon, specifically in 2020? If you haven't been paying attention, every single year, there's some kind of increase in fees or whatever. And is it truly worthwhile for you to get started knowing that fees are going to constantly be increasing? That's what I'm going to answer today on this video. Hey everyone, my name is Hurricane Liz and I've made millions of dollars selling on Amazon, and I've actually had obstacles like this, fees, long-term storage fees, and all sorts of other hidden fees that are out there that I hope to get you through and explain to you before you even plan to start selling on Amazon. So if you're interested in learning about that, then please subscribe to the channel, as I'll keep bringing these videos to you on a weekly basis. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a fee that people usually ignore, and literally they get caught with their pants down when sourcing a product. And trust me when I say it's not good to get caught with your pants down by an audience. In any other instance, it's fine. However, I'm going to help you avoid getting caught with your pants down. So let's jump straight into my screen share and I'll show you what kind of fees you're looking at getting when starting on Amazon. Okay, so most importantly, before we even actually jump into the fees, I want you guys and gals to understand that Amazon is a long-term business, which basically means that when you order something, you start to sell it, you can't immediately start pulling cash out of it, even though you can, but I would recommend it's a very small amount, something like no more than $100 to $250 a month. If you try and pull any more of it out, then it's going to be an uphill battle to actually make some money with Amazon. So just remember that simple fact. And I've seen a ton of videos out there, and I will say this much, there is a lot of misinformation out there. In fact, if you do Amazon private label, look to spend at least $3,000, because as I said before, the amount of misinformation I see out there is alarming. So don't start on a shoestring budget or you will get caught with your pants down, like I said earlier. And I want you to compare this opportunity to a university. When you go to a university, you don't go in there expecting that you can get started for $1,000 and graduate and then get a job to make money, right? You go in there knowing that you're going to have to make a huge investment and it's going to cost you time and money in order to get that diploma. But remember, nothing is guaranteed with that diploma. I know plenty of people that have diplomas and work at supermarkets, in the supermarket aisles, checking things out. Which when you're a kid sounds cool, but let me tell you, it's not cool. And the other thing that I want you to compare it to is investing in a long-term franchise like McDonald's. The average McDonald's owner only makes $150,000 a year. And the problem with that is, guess what? They still have to learn from the bottom up, which means they still have to flip burgers. Now, let's talk about the fees that you're going to actually get hit with if you want to sell on Amazon. Now, keep in mind that there are certain fees that are absolutely necessary and that I wouldn't recommend going forward without. And then there is other fees that are going to be completely optional. And these are all entirely up to you, but I'm still going to go over each of those because a couple of these fees are really misunderstood by the general Amazon population. And in fact, even a lot of gurus out there have this totally mixed up. So let's start with the fees that are absolutely necessary. And the first one is an actual sourcing tool. Now, I've used two on this channel and two that I use almost religiously, and I use them both for different purposes. But to be quite honest, the one that is my choice, my number one choice, and that I would absolutely not be able to make it without it is Market Intelligence's tool. Now that tool is a little bit more pricey than the other ones, but it does have a lot of sweet options, which I'm going to show you in a second. But another one that I've also showed is Jungle Scout, which works just as well. One of those is going to set you back at least $99 an actual month. So let me go ahead and show you what each of those do. And I'm actually going to search for a very popular product on Amazon. That product is turmeric curcumin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use Jungle Scout to tell me a lot of data about this particular product. And you're going to see it's going to pull up a bunch of different information that is extremely useful for you in your product hunt for a product that you could sell on Amazon. So from the left to right, it starts with the product name as well as the brand, as well as the price, the number of sales sold in a month, the monthly revenue, and this is the daily sales that it actually hits, which, to be quite honest with you, this is way off. I can tell you that I know that these sell a lot more than that. Then it also goes over how long this has been available, as well as the number of reviews on the product, the overall rating, the rank in terms of BSR, which means the lower the BSR, the better, which means more sales. And this is, let's see, with the listing quality score. So Jungle Scout goes in there and takes a look at the listing and can tell you whether or not they think it's good, how the product is fulfilled. In this case, they're almost all FBA. And then lastly, it tells you the category. And then a couple other great pieces of information it does is gives you the average monthly sales as well as the average sales rank. So it's basically all the averages for this particular product. And then lastly, it gives you something that is called an opportunity score. And with this opportunity score, while I don't take it to heart, it is a useful tool to just kind of see more or less if there's a lot of competition. In this case, there's a high level of competition and high demand. And so one other thing that you can do is you can click out here and you can open it up in Amazon. You can look about more information regarding the product. You can like put it on your like list as I just did. I viewed it in Tracker. And you can also look for a supplier, which I've never actually tried. Now they do have, in addition to you getting this Chrome extension, you do get an extension that you can use on their website and pick up information off products like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the same data that Market Intelligence has. And one thing that you will notice if you're paying close attention is that the data or the estimates are a little different because they're both gathering estimates based off of the data that they have, that they've collected. So you can see that here they're saying that this product makes $900,000 in monthly revenue, while Jungle Scout said it made $450,000 in revenue. And I know firsthand that Market Intelligence has a lot more accurate data, and that's why I choose to actually use that one, because I do know that this particular product is closer to about $1 million a month in revenue every single month. So same kind of things that are in this. They show average numbers as well as a product idea score, which is similar to the opportunity score. They give you an estimated amount of search volume, as well as a couple of different trends that they see in the market that you can actually look at. And they give you an analysis of the niche in general. They kind of give you some tips and warnings and alerts about the actual niche. And they give you something called a cost calculator where you can see what the Amazon fees are. And then the last thing that they actually showed here is a detailed statistics panel, which will tell you what kind of actual numbers you can expect if you're either in the top 5, top 10, and or page 1. So that's a quick summary of Market Intelligence. They also do the same thing on their website, just like Jungle Scout does. So on either one of them, you can also get their web app and be able to use their web app if it's something that you prefer to use over Chrome. So both work really well. I just like to see it visually as I look at the products on Amazon and also see the statistics here. So that brings us to our next actual thing that we need, and that's mandatory. That is a product sample. So most people don't actually realize that you can get a sample before you ever actually place an order from China. Keep in mind, the one very expensive thing about a sample is not the sample itself, but it's actually the shipping to the United States. Look to pay between $50 and $100 to get it shipped to your door from China, and this will arrive typically through DHL. However, it is mandatory because of the fact that you really want to see the quality of the product before you place $1,000+ order. Next thing that you will definitely need is not only the design of the branding and the logo, but you will also need packaging design. And I kind of give that about $500, but I am going to give you a hack here that's going to show you where you can get that for a fraction of the cost. And the place where you can get this for very cheap is Fiverr. As you can see, I was already looking at this earlier. This particular guy right here will design a product label and or a package. He probably will even design a logo if you need one, and he could do it for a basic package of $10. However, keep in mind, if you do want some upgrades, it is going to cost you, but it's very reasonable compared to a couple other options that you do have. But there are some of these guys on Fiverr that are pretty great, and you can take a look at some of their previous work, and you can also see that it's not bad, right? Like look at this Keto Smart Shots look good, so does this Lean. So you can get a really good deal on Fiverr and not really have to break the bank. So that $500 estimate that I gave is only a high estimate. A lot of times you might even have your own designer or know one, and you can get it for a lot cheaper. However, not only is he going to have to design a logo, he's also going to have to design the packaging and if needed, instructions or anything like that. And that's why I put a value of $500. Okay, so the next thing that you will definitely need are photos. And once again, this is similar to the branding and the logo and the packaging design. You don't want to skimp on photos. You definitely want to get a professional photographer. Worst case scenario, if you're strapped for cash, then I do recommend going to Amazon and picking up a white box setup and doing the photos yourself with your iPhone. The iPhone has an incredible camera, and that's absolute worst case scenario. However, as soon as you can afford it, I highly recommend professional photos from a photographer and making sure that you get those photoshopped if necessary. Again, I put a value of $200, but it really depends on how much each photo costs you. Very good photos can cost you as much as $35 per photo. But again, this includes all the lighting and photoshops and things like that. If you do need a professional model though, that can get a lot higher because you are going to need to pay the model in addition to the photographer, which brings me to the next piece of expenses, and that is inventory. And now this is typically thought of as being the most expensive part of the entire budget, but it's really not. We're going to actually get into some of those expenses in the optional. However, with inventory, you got to make sure that you order enough, just enough so that you don't run out, because at some point you will need to do another reorder before you actually run out. So you want to avoid at all costs running out, because when you run out, that's when you lose all ground that you have on Amazon. Which brings me to the next actual expense, and that expense is a UPC. Keep in mind, at the present time, you could still buy UPCs off of eBay. In fact, I will show you some in a second, but I do highly recommend that if you're going to take this brand extremely serious, that you need to buy UPCs from GS1. So let's quickly go ahead and look at both of those just so you understand what your options are. Okay, so I'm here in eBay, and as you can see, there are some Amazon barcodes that you can get. I used to buy these for as little as like 25 bucks. And right here they have GS1s, which you'll be able to put your company information on for 500. So the price can vary. If I'm doing a bundle and or a product that I don't intend on keeping, I might still try to do the eBay ones, but sometimes Amazon does do a check. So if you really want to take it serious, and this is a brand that you're going to trademark, you're going to brand register and do all sorts of things like that, then I highly recommend you go to GS1 and you just pay the amount that they need, which is typically about $300 to get 10 barcodes. So you can start with that, and this will also kind of put you in their database, which is the officially looked at database for all UPCs. And this will work for legit sites like Walmart and Jet and all those. They want to really see brands that have GS1s registered to the business. So again, if you're going to build a legit brand, then I highly recommend you go with GS1. Okay, so the next cost that you're going to have to worry about after UPCs is shipping to the USA. And now here you have two options. You can ship by air, and that's usually called DDP, or you can ship by ocean or freight, and in that case it's called FOB, which means free on board. And while it's not free, you will have to pay your freight forwarder, as well as if you have any customs fees. That is a slower, but it's an option that is a little bit cheaper. So really this depends on the weight of your product. So I do recommend you consult a professional with that, because you want to make sure that not only do you take care of shipping, but you also take care of customs and duties and all that different stuff. So I personally use a freight forwarder, and I'm better with that option because it feels like I outsource the entire thing. And at the end of the day, all they do is tell me how much I owe, and I write them or send them a wire, and everything's said and done. But shipping is very important. And that brings me to the next actual fee, which is the Amazon selling plan. Now, I highly recommend you never go with the individual plan, which pays you or charges you by the number of units you sell. If you're going to be very serious about this business, you want to go with the Amazon selling plan that is professional. You'll be charged $39.99 a month, but that is basically what the real players on Amazon use. And it's just a fraction of the cost to be able to use not only Amazon's platform, but also their traffic and their logistics. It's just a no-brainer. And that brings me to one of the last costs that is mandatory, and that is something called a continuous bond. Now, a continuous bond is nothing more than a bond that you register for with the United States Customs. And what it basically does is it puts you down as the importer on record. And so what this pretty much does is the government knows that you are the person that's importing this. In the event that, heaven forbid, you try to smuggle drugs or something, they'll know exactly who you are and where to go to get you, right? So there's two different options. You can have the one-time bond, which allows you to import once, or the continuous bond, which allows you to import as many times during the year as possible. Now, I do recommend spending the extra $250 on the bond that allows you to import the whole year. Again, especially if you're going to take this business seriously. And the reasons for that is that customs will typically pull over people that have the one-time bond more often and perform customs inspections, which will cost you money. I've had some customs inspections which has cost me as much as $2,500 added on top of my freight total. So I don't recommend you doing that. And that's why I like to always get the continuous bond with the $500, because that shows you mean serious business. So now let's go into optional fees. And these are fees, like I said before, that a lot of people often overlook. They don't even think about doing these, and they don't even realize that they need these, but they sometimes can add up to be the most expensive fees in all on Amazon. And the very first one is one that is, again, like I said, often overlooked, and that is review acquisition. And this, I want to point out that it largely depends on the cost of your product. So obviously products that cost a lot more, it's going to cost a lot more to get reviews versus products that are a lot less. And I'll explain more to you why this happens. 2 reasons. First of all, there's something called rate of review, which means that Amazon, in their algorithm, they have some sort of flag set up to where if you get too many reviews for every purchase or sale, it's going to raise a red flag and it's going to raise suspicion on Amazon. In fact, I've seen listings that are blocked from allowing reviews permanently. And I've also seen listings that are blocked on a daily basis because you're getting too many reviews versus the amount of sales. So this raises the biggest red flag in all of Amazon. An aggressive rate of review would be about 30% versus a non-aggressive one, which would be about 10%. So I'll kind of explain that here in a little bit more detail. Let's say you make 10 sales and you get 3 reviews for those 10 sales. That is a 30% rate of review. That is very aggressive. However, if you make 10 sales and then you get 1 review for those 10 sales, that's a 10% rate of review. And that's a lot less suspicious, even though it's still aggressive, because in all honesty, you usually get about 5%. So that means that for every 10 sales, you get a half a review, or every 20 sales, you get 1 review. So once again, remember the rate of review. Try and keep it under that when you actually go for reviews, which brings me to the total fee that it would approximately cost you to get a review. I'm putting that at around $50. Now, keep in mind, most people get reviews by something called brand rebates. And the best way that I can explain that to you is to think back in the old days when your mom or your grandma used to buy Tide detergent at the grocery store and then have to literally clip off the UPC and send it into some PO box and then wait weeks and weeks in the mail to get cash back from the actual owner. It's the same thing in Amazon, except the brand rebates are about 100%, which means if I have this cell phone case and I want to give it away, I basically have to give the person the money to buy it. That's my rebate. And then, or reimburse them after they buy it and give them a 100% brand rebate. Now that does 2 things for my actual product. That makes the sales velocity or the rate of sales look much higher. And or what it also does, it helps me rank better, but there is the possibility that I can also get a review from them. So that's exceptional. That's kind of the rate of review. So $50 per review, that's if you have a cheaper product. The higher the product is, the higher the amount you're going to pay for reviews. All right, so the next optional cost here is ranking costs. And again, this all depends on what your goal is to sell in a single month. So you might wonder, what is the difference between review acquisition and ranking costs? Aren't they the same thing? Well, truth be told, if you do a ranking actual campaign before you get enough reviews, that means if you start off your brand new product, you have 0 reviews, and you decide, okay, I want to rank, so I'm going to do some brand rebates to give this away. What'll happen is you'll hit the top 10, but because you have 0 reviews and 0 social proof on Amazon, you're going to just take a nosedive. And then pretty much you're going to be screwed. You're going to have to do this all over again. Well, that's exactly what this is. You almost have to do 2 ranking campaigns. The first one has a goal of acquiring reviews, and the second one has a goal of actually ranking your products. And the way that I recommend you do these is if you can either do a couple things. You can get a third party to do them for you. You can use one of the many various ranking services out there, and or you can do them through ManyChat. All 3 work, and it really depends on what your goals are as well as your kind of budget. All right, so that brings me to the next optional cost, and that cost is a trademark. Trademark will cost you $1,000, but it also does a bunch of things for your business. Number 1, you can now join Amazon's brand registry program, which I'll show you here in a second. And what that does is it protects you from hijackers and scammers trying to rip off your brand. So I highly recommend it. There is actually a brand new pilot program called the Amazon Accelerator that will accelerate you getting your product protected through brand registry, and it'll cost you about $1,000. So it's a little bit expensive. You can also do the trademark yourself, but that's a lot more work. But let me go ahead and show you what brand registry does. All right, so this is brand registry. And what you basically, it's actually super simple. You log into your account and you answer 5 or 6 questions. The one biggest question being, what is your trademark number? So in order to look up your trademark number, all you have to do is go to the TESS government site and do a search for your actual trademark. And then it'll show you, like, let's just do one for, all right, so I did one for Garmin. And we can just look at anyone that's live. Garmin, Team Garmin. I'm going to click on that. and this is going to have a number. So right here, it's got a couple registrations, registration number. You'll place that where Amazon asks you for it. And then all they do is they check to see and verify that it's there. And it literally can take Amazon as little as an hour to approve you to Brand Registry 2.0. And that allows you access to all their extra tools. Like you can actually email the help desk at Brand Registry if you ever have problems with hijackers or anything like that. And it just truly is currently the best way to protect your brand from hijackers or counterfeiters. All right, so that brings me to the next fee. And again, this one is optional, and that is joining a course. And now courses out there can cost as much as $1,000 to $5,000. And I do have a caveat here that you do need to pay close attention to. Make sure that the person that is selling the course is actually an Amazon seller. So look at all their videos, look at all the stuff that they show, and make sure they are still involved in Amazon. I, for one, have been involved in Amazon for over 7 years, and I've never stopped. I show you all of my wins, all of my losses, and it's very real. And over the course of 7 years, not only have I developed and met the very best people out there, but I've developed those relationships as well as the systems and processes that allow me to work on my Amazon business pretty much hands off. All automated and all just whenever the heck I feel like it. So again, do research on your mentor, but I really think that a mentor is almost essential, especially if it's the right one, because they could truly accelerate your success. So make sure you do your due diligence and you pick the right one. And that brings me to the last and final optional fee here, and that is Amazon pay-per-click, which you've seen in my other videos is nothing more than a fee that pays for every single time a person clicks into your listing. And this can be a very nominal fee or it can be a very hefty fee. That really depends on the niche you're in. This is completely optional. I do run PPC on my Amazon products, but I know a lot of people that are extremely successful and they don't, because they do this. They do the review acquisition very well and they do the ranking cost very well. And guess what? They end up sticking and they stay at the top of the rankings pretty much for the entire existence of the product. And if the product ever drops, they do this again and it sticks there and it sticks there for years and years. I've had one such product for the past 6 years that has just stuck there and done extremely well for the past 6 years, and it'll continue to do well because of the fact that I do all this stuff on it and I continue to work on it. So hopefully you enjoyed the mandatory and optional fees. And the last thing that I wanted to do is tally each up and kind of give you an estimate of what you're going to spend when you actually get an Amazon product. And more or less, this is an investment. In terms of mandatory fees, you're going to be looking at about $6,500. Remember, that includes inventory, shipping, and all the other things that you're going to need in order to put your listing up on Amazon. It's the optional fees where it gets really sticky. Look to spend as much as $10,000, particularly the bulk of that will be spent on reviews and ranking, which at the end of the day, that is a huge investment to make, but you do want to invest that this product has a lot of success, right? You want to invest the money so that it has success and sales, because if not, you're going to get caught with your pants down and you're not going to know what you're going to do with all this excess inventory sitting in a fucking closet somewhere. So you don't want to do that. Trust me, I've been there and it's not fun. Other than that, I hope you have enjoyed this video and I hope it leads you to making a lot more money and at least being aware at the fees that are out there and that you could get hit with before you start your Amazon journey. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I personally will answer those and I will see you all in the next video.